everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tahar Talks. Today's episode is something which I have been meaning to put up on this podcast for a very, very long time.
So it's a yapping Prisha episode.
It's a yapping fresh episode, but it's also one that needs to be yapped about.
Okay.
Just imagine a country where doing something as simple as listening to your mother talk is illegal. Imagine a country where our podcast would be illegal. Can you imagine a place like that?
Yeah,
Afghanistan.
exactly.
One of the most prettiest countries in the world, one of the richest cultures, and a country where me talking right now would be illegal. So, Reena, I'll start by asking you, when you think of Afghanistan, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Cricket.
What? Okay.
Okay, it came first to my mind is because today, like before, in one of the classes, one of my friends was telling me about Afghanistan cricket. Now, women's cricket. What happened? It was like Afghani players are banned, like women players are banned to play from international matches now from cricket, and now the women like from Australia, they're protesting on behalf of Afghanistan. So they've blocked all the what do you call it, tours and everything to Australia. And they're saying till you don't give them the freedom, we won't let y'all come here.
And imagine cricket not being allowed. But imagine speaking in public not being allowed. Afghanistan is now a society, a country in which women are not allowed to speak loudly or not allowed to speak in public. The surprising part is they're not even allowed to speak in their own houses if a guy can listen to them talk.
So
Imagine
if you were in Afghanistan, we would have one lesser burden on us. It would be less yapping.
if we were in Afghanistan, I would not be talking, and not just me, millions of women living in Afghanistan wouldn't be talking. Just imagine an entire law, an entire public decree because of which women cannot speak anymore. And you know why did this come to be?
No.
This came to be because they considered women's voices to be potential instruments of vice, meaning that they're not allowed to be heard in public anymore. Which means that anytime a woman has some idea, anytime a woman has something great to share, or a new idea or a new revolution to
So
bring
it's
forward,
really like a patriarchal area.
I won't even call it patriarchal because it has exceeded all expectations of patriarchy too. Not just our men, the heads of households, the heads of society. Women are not even basic citizens, not even basic humans who are allowed to speak. Every animal communicates some way or the other, and speaking is how us humans do it. Imagine that being taken away from women. Imagine a society like that. It is not something that, we should even be joking about, something we should be taking lightly, because there are, at this very moment, while I'm talking in this podcast, there are so many women in Afghanistan who cannot speak right now. And to think about it, and just imagine what happens is while these women cannot speak, speaking is more than just talking or sharing your ideas. Speaking is also the basic mode for how us as a population, we evolve, we change, we come up with ideas through speaking, we come up with better things through speaking. And imagine something like that being taken away from
It's
women.
basically the key of communication.
Exactly. And you know what does this remind me of? To connect this to our own Indian history, something which will help the audience understand it better. Have you heard of the Jallianwala Bagh incident?
No.
Wow, Reena. The Jallianwala Bagh incident took place in colloquial India when what happened is, according to British decree, people were not allowed to gather in large groups and large functions because it could potentially be a threat because people could come up with revolutions. Once again, it's a very clear censorship and silencing of the ideas people have.
Okay.
And a lot of people, the Sikh community, did gather up in Jallianwala Bagh for a religious festival. And when they did so, through the walls of the gate, through the walls of the garden Jallianwala Bagh, all of them were shot down. Every single person inside was either forced to jump into wells, killing themselves, or be shot down by the British Army.
So adding to this, do you know Khalid Hanafi?
No, tell me about this.
So it's the Taliban's Minister for Virtue. And he stated that women's voices are called avra, meaning no outside their immediate family should hear them.
And this just makes me reflect upon this because we know that all the religions of the world are extremely diverse and believe in extremely diverse ideologies, and we do understand that Islam does not believe in this. There are so many people from the Islamic community around the world living a very religious and peaceful life. So just to see a religion being interpreted in such a way and having an entire policy being made after this, it's crazy to me.
And one of the women who was oppressed by the Taliban laws said that I don't want to be humiliated anymore because I'm a woman. It's better to die than this, to live like this.
And honestly, it is only by October 2024 that this policy has actually intensified, with reports indicating that women are not even allowed to pray aloud in the presence of other women. So, not only not only is the Taliban government as a whole trying to use the ideologies behind religion to, implement like, policies into the country, but at the very same time, they're also making praying around other women illegal just because it involves the usage of a woman's voice. This decree has further restricted their freedom as women, as it is implied that women must avoid any vocal expression that could be heard by others, which goes all the way from singing to literally reciting religious texts.
So the Taliban government deputy spokesman Hamdullah Fitrat justified the new edit, accompanied by copious footnotes referring to religious texts.
The law approved by the Supreme Leader is in accordance with the Islamic Sharia law. Any religious scholar can check on its references, he claims. But at the very same time, it is very easy for so many around to understand that this is their own interpretation of the Sharia, and that Islam has given the right to both men and women to choose if they want to study and progress. And factually speaking, this is something which we can observe through, Islamic history as a whole, where we have, the Prophet's own wives being such great scholars who've contributed so deeply to the religion as a whole.
Mir Abdul Wahid Sadat, the president of Afghan Lawyers Association, said that the new laws contradicted Afghanistan's domestic and international legal obligations. From a legal standpoint, this document faces serious issues, and if you know, the UN does not recognize Taliban.
Exactly. Afghanistan currently does not have a place in any UN committee. Why? Because the representative of Afghanistan is still from the Afghanistan Republic and not from the Taliban rule. Meaning that there is no one in the United Nations right now who can speak up about these issues from Afghanistan's point of view, which is so wild to me because United Nations has proven itself to be very successful multiple times in mitigating such conflicts.
So now the new law does not only violate Afghanistan's domestic laws, but also broadly contravenes all 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, said by Mir Abdul Wahid Sadat.
So, we have spoken so much about the kind of problems which are going on in Afghanistan right now. But what I find to be the craziest in all of this is I'm someone who loves reading. And when I say Afghanistan has some of the best authors, I mean it. Look at Nadia Hashmi, Khalid Hosseini, like some of the best authors do come from Afghanistan. And when you bother to read such books and you bother to actually understand, what goes through the minds of Afghani people, do you understand that this is a country so similar to our own? Like, we are all Eastern nations for a reason.
But how is that so? Like, how are we similar?
So, if we were to talk about culture, they have so many similar things as us. Kite flying is such a major theme in Afghanistan. How many times have we flown kites? So often, so common in India. The kind of, the kind of approaches we have towards lives, our general ideologies, our morals, our values. As Eastern societies, we are so similar to Afghanistan. And to think about what, a separate direction which India did end up going in compared to Afghanistan. We are over here having this podcast. We're having a conversation in a completely modern room. And to think about the fact that Afghanistan also is, just an Eastern society like us, which is suffering so much, just makes it altogether so much more real.
So this wouldn't be allowed in Afghanistan.
Exactly. This would not be allowed in Afghanistan for us to be openly talking about another country. And that is what's so crazy to me, because Afghanistan has millions of more children just like us, millions of more people who have ideas and who want to do something out of it. But just imagine an entire lifetime of such opportunities and ideas going to waste simply because of where you're born.
So, but in the end, the Taliban deputy foreign minister speaks in support of girls' education.
So, Sher Mohammad Abbas Tanigzai, the deputy foreign minister, publicly criticized the ban on girls' education in Afghanistan, stating it was unjust and not in the Islamic law. If any of you do happen to come across this video, a very famous one which was trending all over social media, you will see how, the deputy foreign minister ended up breaking down in tears in a public speech and crying and talking about how this is not what Islam stands for. And that is true. This is not what Islam stands for. And Stanigzia argued that the Taliban leadership, reopen schools for girls, emphasizing that there is no acceptable excuse for the ban. He noted that the injustice was against 20 million Afghan women and girls, all of whom were having their entire lives taken away from them.
So, Tanik Zia has been described as a rare moderate voice in the Taliban's figure. He criticizes marks one of the most strongest public rebukes of government policy that has furthered the international isolation of the Taliban. Shortly after his speech, it was reported that the Taliban supreme leader ordered Stanik Zia's arrest and imposed a travel ban on him. Fearing for his safety, Stanik Zia managed to leave for Dubai before any action could be taken against him.
Just imagine the one guy who was willing to speak out and willing to make change was also forced to flee the country. And the recent events are not just events or just not just incidents that took place. They do have a lot of implication about them. So the very first thing that starts with Stanixia's appeal, this signifies a potential rift within the Taliban leadership regarding the policies on women's education. Now, this could lead to shifts in policies if these moderates gain influence, which may improve may improve the educational situation for all women in Afghanistan.
The global response to Stanixai's remarks may intensify pressure on the Taliban to reform their policies, with figures like Malala Yousafzai advocating for change. There's a possibility that international recognition and aid could hinge on improvements in women's rights.
So it is very natural for one to be very skeptical about these immediate changes, since Tanigzia was just one person who has come forth with such public criticism. But it is very important to remember that just the possibility of one person speaking out could actually lead to an increased educational opportunity for women in Afghanistan. And and it is also important to remember in all of this that while we are focusing on a very social issue, this social issue of women not being educated enough, Afghanistan very recently banning NGOs from hiring women also leads to a very major economic loss in the
I
country.
guess like a global issue right now, women's education.
100%. And what happens is that women's education, while it is a social issue, for those of us who want to think about it technically, it is also causing such a major economic loss. There is a very, very high population of women in the world who are not being allowed to be educated. So that means that we have manforce which is not being utilized. That is causing so many economic issues in a country like Afghanistan too right now. So for those of you who don't know, the International Criminal Court has already requested for arrest warrants on Taliban's supreme leader, meaning that they're in no way in any legal position to actually be doing all of this. They are quite literally wanted by the International Criminals Court.
The continued denial of education to women has dire consequences of Afghan society as a whole, including stunned economic growth and increased poverty levels. Allowing girls access to education could foster a more educated workforce benefiting future generations.
And let's just keep one thing in mind right now. Understanding all of this is very important for us as the youth. We are very soon going to be the adults who make the decisions in this world. And if we are not able to understand the actual dire consequences of what's happening in countries like Afghanistan, we are failing as a society. To be able to truly understand the challenges which are faced by these Afghan women and girls would really help all of us understand and actually make use of the kind of opportunities we have being a part of privileged societies. If you have the access to education, if you have the access to make a change, make change. If everyone is just willing to contribute towards what they truly care about, we would already be a better society.
So the youth must recognize these dynamics as they shape their understanding of justice, equality, and civic responsibility.
And I believe that is the message we are trying to share through this podcast right now, too. What is happening in Afghanistan is a clear mirror of what our society can be like. So, as a youth, we're going to leave you with this note. Take up all the opportunities you have to actually be able to bring the change in the world which has given so much to us. That was Afghanistan and all the issues faced by women in Afghanistan on Dart Talks. And we hope to see you again next episode, too.